Camping is an experience that allows us to reconnect with nature and escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life. It offers a unique opportunity to immerse oneself in the great outdoors, breathe in the fresh air, and marvel at the beauty of natural landscapes. Whether it's setting up a cosy campfire under a starry sky, waking up to the soothing sounds of birdsong, or exploring rugged trails and serene lakes, camping offers a sense of tranquility and adventure. The Applegate Creek Campground is situated across from the 1040 road and sits by the middle fork of the Applegate River, a tributary of the Rogue River located in the American state of Oregon. The river rises in Northern California, with its headwaters located in the forested foothills of the Siskiyou Mountains on the border between Oregon and California. On November 20th, 2012, the body of a man was found resting at the bottom of a steep cliff along the river, wrapped up in a sleeping bag and tent. He had been shot multiple times, and police quickly registered the death as being suspicious. It didn't take long for authorities to determine the identity of the man and the sinister truth regarding his death. Michael Christopher McCallum, known to his loved ones as Chris, was born on the 17th of November 1978 to Mike McCallum and Sarah Ramirez McCallum in Los Amelitos, California. In September of 2008, he met a woman named Patricia, who was a divorcee with a son called Eric from her previous marriage. In July of 2009, after being in a relationship for less than a year, the couple wed on a boat in Newport Harbor, California. In the autumn, their daughter, Cora, was born. By 2011, the family were residing in San Antonio, where Tricia enrolled in basic training with the US Army. However, after a couple of months, in June of that year, she was discharged due to medical reasons. Cracks began to show in Chris and Tricia's relationship, and they separated for a time, with Tricia taking the children with her. They eventually reconciled and moved back in together at a home on Clear Springs Drive in Medford, Oregon in September of 2012. Chris's 34th birthday was just around the corner, and together they arranged to go on a camping trip to celebrate. It was November the 16th when the couple drove to Applegate Creek. The weather had been miserable and bitterly cold, therefore Tricia and her stepsister, Amber Lubbers, who had joined the couple on the trip, decided to leave for the warmth of home on the night of the 16th, leaving Chris behind to fend for himself. According to Tricia, she and Amber told Chris that they would return to the campsite the next morning to start celebrating his birthday. Upon their arrival as day broke, Chris and all of the camping gear was nowhere to be seen. On the 19th of November, Chris was reported as a missing person. The following day, police found his body wrapped up in the tent at the bottom of the embankment. Authorities retrieved Chris's remains on the 21st of November, and that day became the official date of his death. Tricia spoke with several media outlets regarding the death of her husband and masked herself as an innocent, grieving widow, explaining that Chris didn't want his birthday camping trip to be a failure. However, the shocking truth was swiftly uncovered. On the 7th of December 2012, Patricia and Amber were arrested in Medford by Siskiyou County detectives, and both were charged with the murder of Chris McCallum. In early 2013, Tricia pled not guilty. However, Amber, in her preliminary hearing, pleaded guilty to being accessory to murder and took a plea deal on the condition that she testified against Patricia McCallum. Amber stated that in October of 2012, a month before Chris's death, 26-year-old Tricia confided in her stepsister about the breakdown of her relationship with Chris, who was at the time working as a cab driver and bartender. Together, Tricia and Amber travelled to the campsite and concocted a vicious plot to murder Chris McCallum, with Tricia intending to pack both a gun and hatchet for that trip. Amber Lubbers told authorities that both she and Tricia had allegedly planned to get Chris to cross the Applegate River with rope tied around his waist, which they would then sabotage by pulling on, so that he would fall at 75 feet to his death in the rapids. On the 16th of November, Chris and Patricia drove to Amber's address in Newtown Street, where she resided, in a converted garage. Tricia had called Amber that morning to confirm that they were going to pick her up from that location. They stopped off at a Food for Less store where they purchased supplies for the camping trip. Specifically, they bought milk, fruit juice, Gatorade, Tic Tacs, firewood, roasting skewers, and batteries. They travelled on into Jacksonville, where they stopped for a second time at Roosh Country Store on Highway 238. According to Tricia, they each had a burrito and then they left for the final leg of the journey towards the campsite. They arrived at Applegate Creek and went down by the river where the women's plot sprang into action. However, Tricia failed to pull on the rope and their plan was foiled. Upon their return to the campsite, Lubbers stated that the group began drinking alcohol. However, the two women diluted their drinks with water, waiting for Chris to become inebriated. Once darkness fell, Chris retreated to his sleeping bag. As he slept, Amber and Tricia began packing up their camping gear and walked to the car, where Amber alleged that an emotionless Tricia took the gun, went over to the tent, and shot Chris 7 or 8 times. Tricia then came back to the vehicle, grabbed another clip, returned to the tent, and shot Chris, using once again approximately 7 or 8 shots. 1 bullet severed the spinal cord and 2 penetrated Chris's heart, with other bullets shot into his wrist and shoulder. Bullet holes were also found in the tent's fabric. Amber said that the pair rolled up Chris in the tent, tying it with a rope, and kicked him down an embankment where his body was later found. Tricia McCallum then disposed of evidence by allegedly throwing away the gun, clips and bullet casings into a nearby waterfall. The two women then departed from the campsite, driving back home in the night. Between them, they decided that if people asked about Chris's whereabouts, they agreed to say that he had arranged to meet up with a friend. Amber recalled that on the midnight drive after the murder, Tricia told her that she felt, quote, liberated. The women stopped at a Jack-in-the-Box restaurant on East Barnet Road in Medford and agreed to use the restaurant as their alibi. They bought a milkshake and a smoothie, making sure to hold on to the receipt in case authorities requested their whereabouts just after midnight. Amber stated that she thrifted her boots and Chris's jacket at St. Vincent de Paul thrift store on North Pacific Highway. His jacket was later retrieved and confirmed by Chris's mother as having belonged to her son. The motive for the crime became clear once investigators gathered evidence that Tricia was seeking custody of their children, social security benefits, and life insurance. Mike McCallum, Chris's father, explained that Tricia was seeking a divorce. However, Chris wanted to keep his marriage alive and didn't want the children to suffer any consequences that could occur from a divorce. After his death, Chris's mother, Sarah, set up a trust fund for both of the McCallum children. While Patricia McCallum was incarcerated under a $1 million bond, Amber Lubbers' trial concluded on the 14th of March 2013, where she was sentenced to 16 months in jail for conspiring to murder with Tricia McCallum. She was furthermore ordered to pay restitution to Chris's family. Sarah believed that this was too lenient a sentence, telling the media, quote, I have a very hard time believing that Amber would have come forward if she had not been caught. This seems like a slap on the hand for all her involvement and participation. She also asserted her belief that her son's spouse would not have been capable of committing the murder independently, alleging that Lubbers played a more substantial role in the killing than she acknowledged while testifying under oath. On the 7th of August 2013, Amber Lubbers was released from prison due to good behaviour, having served only half of her sentence. Almost a year to the day since Chris's murder, on the 18th of November 2013, the trial of Patricia McCallum commenced in Wairika, California. The trial lasted for 2 weeks, and in early December, the jury delivered their verdict. Patricia McCallum was found guilty of first-degree murder. After a lengthy delay, in January of 2015, Judge Dixon sentenced Tricia to 25 years to life for the murder, plus another 25 years for aggravated assault, resulting in a total of 50 years to life imprisonment. Like Amber Lubbers, she was also told to pay restitution. Prior to her sentencing, Patricia spoke to the court, declaring that she was innocent and Amber Lubbers had deceived prosecutors under oath. She went as far to say that she too was a victim of the crime. Chris's family urged that Patricia drop the surname McCallum and return to her maiden name. However, no legal binding could be created for this request. Patricia's attorney, Ted Bastian Jr., filed an appeal of the conviction as Patricia was transferred to the Central California Women's Facility near Fresno. In March of 2019, the result of the appeal was published and Patricia's conviction was upheld. Chris's father, Mike, documented each day of the trial and sentencing on an online blog where he dedicated his writings to him. To Chris, one of the finest, toughest, smartest young men I have ever known. I was so proud to have you as my son and so pleased with all you had done. You will always be in my heart and in my thoughts and prayers. Rest in peace, my son. May God grant you the joy and happiness you so richly deserve.